More sweet stuff in James B. Kitchen. We're going to start with some puff pastry sheets. Now, if you like starting with homemade dough or batter, by all means go right ahead. I love this just because it gives us a little skip step in this. Plus, what we're making today is one of those very specific desserts, and if you can buy it store-bought, go for it. What I'm going to do is cover that with either a piece of parchment or waxed paper and then roll it out to make sure it's good and flat. Now, these pastry sheets don't have any kind of perforations or whatnot, so we don't have to worry about that. But I do want to make sure that it's good and even before we get started, okay? Now what I'm going to do is put a similar sized mixing bowl right there on top so we can get a circular piece of dough to begin with, okay? So what we're going to do is cut around that with either a sharper knife or a butter knife just to make sure that we get a really good cut all the way around. So we can start with a disc of this beautiful pastry dough, okay? Wonderful. Now whenever we get finished with that, you're going to very gently remove that extra dough, okay? Because it still can stick in some places, so just be real careful with that as we remove it. Great. Beautiful. Now what we're going to do is get a little softened cream cheese. I have softened 8 ounces of this, which is just one package. I'm going to put it right down there in the middle of this beautiful pastry circle that we've made, or at least cut. I'm going to put 4 ounces right there in the middle and start to spread it around. I'm going to start with my knife, and then it's probably going to be a little bit easier and gentler on the dough if I use a spoon to spread the rest of it. I don't want that sharp edge, or at least that sharper edge, cutting any kind of holes in my pastry. So I'll use a spoon to spread that around the rest of the way. Now you can tell that I've got my baking sheet out and ready. I've got the oven preheated to 400 degrees, and I'm just going to put this around here just as evenly as I can all the way to the sides. Now you can choose whatever flavor of jam you like. We've got blackberry here. I love it. It is so, so good. Now what we're going to do is scoop a heaping helping of that right here in the middle. You can eyeball it. You know, it's probably going to be right around a cup of it right there in the center of it, and just spread that around. If you don't get enough of it, like say it's just a little bit too thin for you, add more. If you think it's a little bit too thick of a layer of jam, sweet, take away a little. Now what we're going to do is take an egg wash and seal the edges of this pastry circle, okay? We're going to go ahead and make a little bit of an adhesive stripe right around the corner, just at the edge of all of that cream cheese and jam. And it's going to do is sort of like a food glue, if you will, whenever we do that. Now that other sheet of the pastry dough that we've got, I've already cut into the same circle, and I put it right there on top. Now I can use a finger or thumb end tip to go ahead and press those edges together all the way around, continuing to dip my fingers in the egg wash to make sure they don't stick any more than they absolutely have to. Then I'll take a fork and crimp the edges all the way around. That's a little bit more effective than the fingertip closing method, and also gives it just a little bit more of a decoration. Now what I'm going to do is come in here with a really sharp kitchen knife, okay? And I'm going to be cutting this into several segments. Now we'll start with quarters, and then we'll continue to bisect those all the way around until we've got several strips. What we want to do is get a bit of a wagon wheel situation happening here. Then I'm going to very gently pick up each one of those segments and give it a couple of twists. You see what I'm doing here? You got to be super, super gentle with this, okay? Because you don't want any much of your goodie getting out as you can help. And you also don't want to tear the pastry dough. So what you do is very gently, very carefully get those twists going. Whenever you get 2 per star leg, what you do is you push that back down into the baking pan to make sure that it sort of kind of sticks to the baking pan. You don't want it to stick, of course, to it, but you do want to make sure it doesn't come unwound while it bakes. Now we've got our oven preheated to 400. She's ready to go, and we're going to slide this in just as pretty as you please. But before we do that, I want to make sure we tie up each pair of these into sort of star points. See how beautiful that's going to be? Whew, I can tell already. This is going to turn out so nice. I'm so excited. You're going to leave this in the oven for about 25 minutes or until you've got a beautiful golden brown finish. But before we do that, give it just a little bit of an egg wash. Now, if egg wash is not necessarily your choice, you can spray this with Pam too. Nonstick spray will do exactly the same thing. I wish you'd look at that, how gorgeous. Look how pretty that turned out. Give it a little sprinkle of powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar all over the top, just for a little extra something, something. And that is absolutely gorgeous. Please be careful moving this from your baking tray to a serving plate, because it is kind of delicate and a little heavy around the sides, okay? But you can pull this off piece by piece. Finger food delicious. Yes, please.